Excuse me, sir? Hello, ma'am? Do you got any spare change? How many people do you think turn the other way when they see a homeless person? According to the 2019 Annual Homeless Assessment Report, 715 people were homeless in the United States. Many people are unaware of the topic on homelessness. You could be categorized as a homeless person and not even know it. Listening to my speech will give you a better perspective of what homelessness is. I want to present to you knowledge and awareness of the topic homelessness in the United States. Let me begin by providing you with a brief history and how homeless is categorized today. The word homelessness has evolved throughout history. It first began in the U.S. in the mid-1800s as a reference to people who have traveled from place to place in search for work. They were called tramps. It became a large issue because many were jumping on the railroad system to search for work. In the late 1800s, the word tramps evolved to hobo. Because people without a permanent home were hard workers who constantly traveled, seasonal work became a thing. In the early 1900s, when older folk and people with disabilities began to rely on Social Security, shelter, and welfare, it became the new type of homeless. By the late 1900s, we began to see what used to be sheltered turn into apartments and condominiums, leaving those who couldn't afford it in the streets. #homeless. Today, the homeless is categorized into 4 different levels. So you have chronic, episodal, transitional, and hidden. Chronic homelessness is to have experienced homelessness for at least a year or repeatedly 4 times. Episodic homelessness is defined as a person that experienced 3 episodes of homelessness within a year. Transitional homeless is defined as a person that is going through a major life change or catastrophic event, and unintentionally it leads to them homeless. And this is the most common type and is temporary until people get back on their feet. Then lastly, hidden homelessness is kind of like the tramps. People who don't have a permanent household and jump from friends to friends' homes. Those are called hidden homelessness. And because you can't really track those who jump from couch to couch because it's like left unreported, the statistics on the actual amount of homeless people is flawed. But there are many reasons why a person can be homeless in the United States. Some factors that contribute to homelessness can be narrowed down, and areas like California carry many of those contributors. Reasons that people go homeless are because of lack of housing or affordable housing, lack of jobs or inability to meet job requirements, low wages, poverty, mental illnesses, drug abuse, loss of employment, racial disparities, domestic violence, and the list goes on. However, the major contributing factor is housing. According to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, to be able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in the state of California, you need to make $34.69 an hour. This is the second highest in the U.S. Let that sink in for a moment. So now, on top of trying to make enough to put a roof over your head, throw in factors like lack of jobs, racial disparities, mental illnesses, or domestic violence in the pot. #homelessness. Speaking of a pot, now let's bring up the state of California again. I picked California only because it is home to 4 major cities that are dealing with homelessness: San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Jose. California is the highest ranking state to have unsheltered homelessness. In Los Angeles, Skid Row is known to historically be the home of now over 2,000 1,000 people. It covers approximately a square mile of space. The majority of people who reside on Skid Row are African Americans, male, veterans, people ages 25 to 50, people who have experienced domestic violence, and people suffering from mental illness. Surprise. When you look at homeless person, the factors of how they got there tend to slip people's minds. Although there are many support systems to help homeless people, there's a stigma that remains in place today. First, I'd like to discuss different support systems that are used to help homeless and how these support systems are ultimately the hubs that provide aid for the homeless. Based on the category of homelessness people fall under, people can go into temporary housing, or if faced with disabilities or mental illnesses, something more permanent can be offered. On top of donations to these programs, many communities put together food banks to help feed the homeless. Communities or individuals also donate items like blankets, clothing, non-perishables, and etc. Many programs offer grants based on race, military experience, and disabilities. Some programs offer assistance for the homeless facing mental illnesses or hardships. As the growing population in homelessness grows, resources become limiting. Because the resources become limited, the shelter becomes overcrowded. Therefore, many homeless people miss the opportunity to shower or use a restroom. Many businesses refuse services to homelessness, like using the bathroom. This is where the stigma of homelessness people comes to play. Many people have a perception that homeless are dangerous because they have nothing to lose, dirty because their hygiene is awful, lazy because they beg for money instead of working, and drug addicts because they act crazy. However, statistically, the data provided can be translated differently. I hope that with my presentation today, you gain some knowledge and awareness of the topic on homelessness in the United States. The history of homelessness has evolved into many different types of homeless. The factors that contribute to homelessness in the U.S. are big, like California. Although there are support systems for homeless, a stigma of them still remains today. With more knowledge and understanding of the topic of homelessness, I hope that your next encounter with someone who is homeless is rational. Not everyone who is homeless wants to be homeless. Thank you.